waking up in Europe, hopping on a ferry for lunch in Asia, and still making it back in time for a rooftop sunset, all in the same day. That's Istanbul, the only city that lives in 2 continents at once, and the energy is unreal. Stay till the end for my quick cheat sheet to make your trip way less stressful. Let's get into it. Day 1. Sultanahmet, Istanbul's historic core. Morning, Hagia Sophia. Get ready to stand under one of the most iconic domes in the world at the Hagia Sophia. This place is the ultimate ancient contradiction. It spent centuries as a massive Byzantine church before the Ottomans converted it into a mosque in 1453, and today it's a living piece of modern Istanbul. Once you step inside, you'll see exactly what 1500 years of history looks like. Golden Christian mosaics are literally staring down at massive Islamic calligraphy discs on the same walls. Because it's a working mosque, timing is everything. You have to navigate around the 5 daily prayers when the doors close to tourists, so keep that in mind before you head into the entrance. The rules are strict. Keep your shoulders and knees covered, and if you're a woman, you'll need a headscarf. You have to leave your shoes in the racks, and whatever you do not let them touch the carpet, even for a split second, or the guards will be on you. I recommend showing up by 8:30 in the morning sharp. The line situation here gets wild fast, and the combination of security checks and tour groups will stall your entire day if you don't beat the rush. Expect to pay about $30 for entry. Insider tip: pack your own scarf in your bag before you leave the hotel. It'll save you from getting stuck at the gate, paying $10 or $15 for a low-quality one that thousands of people have already touched. Late morning, Blue Mosque. Once you're done at Hagia Sophia, head straight across the square to the Blue Mosque. This is an Ottoman masterpiece that's never stopped being a place of worship, even in the modern era. Keep your eyes peeled for the separate visitor entrance. It's easy to mess up and end up in the line meant for worshippers, which is a total time sink. The dress code is exactly the same as before, and it's non-negotiable. You'll be bagging your shoes and carrying them with you this time, so just remember the golden rule: keep them off the carpet. The name comes from the 200,000 blue Iznik tiles inside. Depending on the renovation schedule, some might be under wraps, but the massive scale of the interior still hits hard. It's a much quieter, more respectful vibe in here compared to the madness of the square outside. Entry is completely free, though you should expect a quick security check. Just remember to time your arrival around the prayer breaks to avoid being turned away at the door. Insider tip: skip the crowded front courtyards for your photos. Walk around to the hippodrome side. The perspective is better, and it'll save you from fighting for space with 100 other cameras. Basilica Cistern. Just a few minutes walk from the mosques, you'll find an entrance that drops you straight into a subterranean Roman world. This is the Basilica Cistern, an ancient reservoir built in the 6th century to store the city's water. Locally, it's known as the Sunken Palace, and the second you hit the bottom of the stairs, the scale of the place makes that name make sense. You'll be walking on raised platforms through a forest of 336 massive columns, all reflected in the shallow water below. It's cool, dark, and eerie, a total break from the heat of the streets above. Keep an eye on the pillars as you walk. The Romans scavenged these from older temples, so no two are exactly alike. Head all the way back to find the 2 Medusa heads used as column bases. One is sideways and the other is upside down. A strange, unexplained detail that's survived since the ancient era. It's a fast visit, but nothing else in the city looks or feels like this. Entry is roughly $25. Do yourself a favor and book your ticket online in advance. It'll save you from a brutal wait in the sun just to get into the building. Afternoon, Grand Bazaar. It's time to throw yourself into the deep end at the Grand Bazaar. This place is a massive Ottoman relic dating back to 1461, and with over 4,000 shops packed into a stone maze, it still functions as the city's commercial engine. This is the Istanbul you see in the movies. Lanterns glowing everywhere, the smell of leather and spices, and more gold than you've ever seen in one place. Don't let the Bazaar label fool you. The space is surprisingly clean, fully covered, and organized into specific sections for jewelry, carpets, and leather. If you're just here for the vibe, 45 minutes is plenty of time to get lost and find your way back out. If you're actually looking to buy, get your game face on. This is the world capital of haggling. Never take your first price, and don't be afraid to walk away if the deal doesn't feel right. The energy here is intense, and the air can get thick when the crowds peak. It's free to enter, but the mental cost of navigating the chaos is real. Once you've had your fill of the labyrinth, find the nearest exit to catch your breath and shake off the sensory overload. Insider tip. If you want the real bazaar away from the souvenir magnets, look for the small hidden courtyards called Huns. These are old workshops where artisans still hammer silver or weave rugs. They're way quieter and give you a glimpse of the modern trade still happening behind the scenes. Rooftop lunch at Queb Lounge. After the chaos of the Grand Bazaar, head back towards Sultanahmet and grab a table at Queb Lounge. This is where you get above the noise to see the city from the sky. While the crowds are fighting for space on the ground, you'll be watching the calls to prayer echo between the minarets of the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque right in front of you. Go for the lamb shank or the testi kebab. They're the standouts of the menu and perfect for a heavy midday recharge. For a full lunch and a drink, plan to spend between $35 and $55 per person. You're paying for the view as much as the food, but having a quiet moment away from the sensory overload of the markets is worth it. Late afternoon, Topkapi Palace. Plan to spend the rest of your afternoon exploring the sprawling palace of the Topkapi Palace. This was the nerve center of the Ottoman Empire for nearly 400 years, functioning as a massive royal city rather than just a home. The court only moved to a newer palace in 1856, so this complex remains the ultimate time capsule for ancient imperial life. The palace is spread across 4 massive courtyards, so don't expect to see every single room. You'll be wandering through the gardens, gatehouses, and the incredible palace kitchens. The real hitters are the treasury, where you'll find the 86-carat spoonmaker's diamond and the harem. Forget the movies, the harem was actually a highly organized family wing in school, and it holds some of the best tile works in the city. Entry is a big jump compared to other sites. A combined ticket for the palace and the harem will cost you roughly $45 to $50. It's a heavy price tag, but it covers the most significant historical site in the country. Insider tip. The palace is closed every Tuesday, so don't get stuck standing at a locked gate. Also, hit the harem as soon as you arrive to beat the crowds that bottleneck in the narrow hallways later in the day. Early evening, Çemberlitas Hamama. After a full day of dodging crowds, it's time to hit the reset button at Çemberlitas Hamama. This isn't some generic hotel spa, it's a 16th century Ottoman bathhouse built by Sinan, the empire's greatest architect. Men and women have completely separate wings here, so if you're traveling with someone of the opposite sex, just agree on a time to meet back up outside. Once you're in, you'll swap your clothes for a pestimal. This is a traditional thin cotton wrap. You'll be assigned a locker and some slippers before heading into the main steam room. Most people go fully nude under the wrap, but if that's not your vibe, throwing on a swimsuit is totally fine. You'll spend about 20 minutes lounging on a massive heated marble slab under a soaring dome until an attendant comes to scrub you down with a coarse kese mitt. The pricing has climbed with the city's inflation, so don't expect the old rates you might have seen in outdated blogs. For basic entrance and a scrub, you're looking at $55 to $60. If you're looking for a full experience with a 30-minute oil massage, it'll cost you about $85 to $90. It's a bit of a sensory trip. Loud, steamy, and very efficient, but it's the perfect way to sweat out the day's stress before you even think about dinner. Evening, dinner at Hanedan Aras. End your day with a proper feast at Hanedan Aras. It's located right in the old town, so you don't have to trek far after the baths. This is the spot to finally slow down, grab a table outside, watch the neighborhood wind down, and just enjoy the fact that you aren't walking anymore. The menu's built on heavy-hitting Turkish flavors. You should go for the hünkâr beğendi, which is known as Sultan's Delight, a mix of slow-cooked lamb over creamy, smoked eggplant puree. Another great choice is the testi kebab. They cook it in a sealed clay pot and crack it open right at your table. For a full dinner with a drink, plan to spend between $30 and $50 per person. The portions are big and the vibe is way more relaxed than the tourist traps near the main square. It stays open late, so don't feel like you have to rush. By the time you finish, you've officially survived Day 1 in the Old Town. Day 2. Beyoğlu, views, streets, and the Bosphorus. Morning, Galata Tower. Start your second day by heading across the water to the Galata district. Standing tall since 1348, the Galata Tower is one of the city's most iconic landmarks. It was originally a water tower for the Genoese, but today it serves as a massive 360-degree observation deck. The lines here are usually a nightmare. You can easily spend over an hour waiting on the cobblestones just to get to the ticket window. To avoid wasting half your money, try to show up right when they open the door at 8:30 a.m. Once you're at the top, the balcony gives you a perfect view of the Golden Horn and the historic peninsula you explored yesterday. The tower is now a museum, so the old restaurant and dinner shows are gone. Entry is pricey at $30. You can pay with a card or in Turkish lira. While it's a lot for a quick elevator ride, the view is the best way to see how the modern city wraps around the ancient center. Insider tip. If the line at Galata Tower is backed up down the street, head to the Barnathon Istanbul rooftop instead. It's a cafe in a restored historic building right next door that sits almost eye level with the tower. You get the same 360-degree views of the Golden Horn and the old city without paying the $30 entry fee or standing in the sun for 2 hours. Just grab a coffee and take a view from the table. Late morning, Istiklal Avenue. Once you're done at the tower, walk toward Istiklal Avenue. This is the city's pulse, a massive pedestrian street that never actually stops moving. It's packed with 19th century buildings, international brands, and hidden side passages that look like they belong in Paris. Don't feel like you need a destination here, just drift with the crowd. Duck into a shop for some quick, high-quality Turkish delight, or grab a tea in one of the narrow alleys. If your legs are starting to give out, hop on the nostalgic tram. It's the iconic red streetcar that rattles straight through the middle of the crowd, and a ride only costs a few dollars. It's important to remember that this is a real bustling city center, not a curated museum. It stays busy, loud, and energetic, which is exactly why it feels so alive. Just keep your wits about you like you would in any major world capital. Exploring here isn't about checking off a monument, it's about seeing how modern Istanbulites actually live and spend their time. Insider tip. If Istiklal gets too intense, duck into Aslihan Pasajı. It's a quiet, multi-story arcade filled with old books, vintage posters, and rare vinyl. It's a total time capsule and the best time to escape the noise without leaving the neighborhood. You can find unique souvenirs here for just $5 to $10 while you get some actual peace and quiet. Afternoon, Çiçek Pasajı. When you've had enough of the Istiklal crowds, duck into Çiçek Pasajı. It's an old-school arcade, also called the Flower Passage, tucked right off the main street. It's a tiny spot with high glass ceilings and rows of cafes that give you a quick break from the heat and noise. Don't expect a massive site to explore, just grab a seat, order a tea, and take 10 minutes to reset. A drink here will cost you about $3 to $5, which is a bit of a markup for the location, but it's worth it for the vibe. It's the best way to clear your head before hunting down some lunch. Once you step back out, you're right in the heart of the Beyoğlu food district. Lunch at Balis Kebap. After the passage, walk over to Balis Kebap. It's a small, crowded spot in the back streets of Asmali Mescit that skips the fancy decor to focus on the grill. It's usually packed with locals, which is always the best sign. Order the chop shish. You'll get small, tender lamb skewers served on a wooden board with plenty of lava spread, grilled tomatoes, and onions. If you like some spice, the Adana kebab is the way to go. You'll walk away spending about $20 to $30 for a meal that actually fills you up. The service is fast, and they don't hover over you. Eat your fill and have a quick tea and get back out there. Late afternoon, Taksim Square. After lunch, walk up to Taksim Square. This is the heart of the modern city and where everything from national holidays to major protests happen. It's wide, loud, and feels completely different from the historic vibes of the old town. Keep an eye out for the Republic Monument, which features Ataturk and the founders of the Turkish state. You'll also see the massive new Taksim Mosque and the Ataturk Cultural Center. It's a great spot to just stand still for a minute and see how the local crowds actually move. Since this is the city's main gathering point, things can get tense. If you see a protest or heavy police presence, just turn around and find a different route. Access gets cut off fast when things get crowded. Evening, Bosphorus Cruise. End your second day on the water. Head down to the docks near Galata Bridge or Kabataş to catch a boat. This is the only place where you can actually see how Istanbul is split between Europe and Asia while the city lights start to kick in. You have a few ways to play this. If you want the view, hop on a standard sightseeing boat for about $15 to $25. If you want a full night of it, go for the dinner cruise. Those usually run about 3 hours and include a full meal, drinks, and traditional shows like belly dancing and folk music. For the dinner package, expect to pay between $40 to $65 depending on the boat. It's a massive relief to finally sit down after all that walking. You get to watch the palaces and waterfront mansions slide by without dealing with any crowds. It's a great way to just decompress and see the whole skyline one last time before the day is over. Useful info for spending 2 days in Istanbul. Best time to visit. Target May, June, or September for your trip. These months give you the best balance. Warm enough to be out all day, but without the stifling humidity of midsummer. Expect daytime temperatures between 18 and 27 degrees Celsius or 65 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. July and August are notoriously hot and packed with crowds, while winter is much cheaper, but can get surprisingly miserable with freezing wind and rain off the Bosphorus. City airport tips. Most international flights land at Istanbul Airport, IST, which is about 40 kilometers or 25 miles from the city center. The easiest way to get into town is the Hagia shuttle bus. It's comfortable, has dedicated luggage space, and costs roughly $6 to $8. Takes about 60 to 90 minutes to reach Taksim Square, depending on the brutal Istanbul traffic. If you want a private ride, use the Buy Taxi app to call an official yellow cab from the ranks outside. A ride to the center should cost between $30 to $45. Ignore the freelance drivers hanging around the arrivals hall. They're a guaranteed scam and will try to charge you double or triple the real rate. Where to stay in Istanbul? Sultanahmet or Sirkeci are your best bets for being central. This is the historic core, which means you can walk to the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia in minutes. Expect to pay between $80 and $130 per night for a solid hotel. It's the most touristy area in the city, but you'll save a massive amount of time on transport. If you want a high-energy local feel, head across the water to Beyoğlu or Galata. These districts are the city's pulse, filled with narrow cobblestone alleys, rooftop bars, and the best nightlife. Prices usually sit between $75 and $125. It's much steeper and louder than the Old Town, but it's where the city actually stays awake late. For a luxury stay, look at Beşiktaş or Nişantaşı. These neighborhoods sit along the Bosphorus and are home to the city's most prestigious 5-star hotels and high-end boutiques. Rooms here generally run from $200 to $450. You're paying for the Bosphorus views and the most polished dining scene in Istanbul. How to get around Istanbul. Istanbul is best explored by combining walking with its massive public transport network. The old town and the back streets of Beyoğlu are incredibly walkable, but the hills are steep, so use the tram to save your legs. For longer hauls or crossing the water, skip the traffic and hop on a ferry or the metro. For any public transport, you need an Istanbulkart. You can buy one at any major station for about $5 and load it with credit. A single ride on a tram, bus, or metro costs roughly $1. You can tap your credit card at the gates, but you'll pay a higher rate, so the card is a better move if you're taking more than a few trips. Taxis are everywhere, but can be a headache due to brutal traffic and fare games. Always use an app like Buy Taxi or Uber to call a yellow cab. This keeps the price transparent and tracks your route. A 15-minute ride usually costs between $5 and $10. Never rent a car for city travel. Parking is non-existent, and the traffic will turn a short drive into an hour of stress. Where to eat in Istanbul? Istanbul's food scene is a massive mix of street-side grills, Imperial Ottoman history, and a booming modern plant-based movement. For an authentic local experience in Beyoğlu, grab a table at Hachi Abdullah Lokantashi. Operating since 1888, they specialize in slow-stewed Ottoman classics like Hünkar Bendi, which is tender lamb served over smoky eggplant. It's a formal, old-school atmosphere where a huge traditional spread will cost between $20 and $35. For a high-end night with a view, book a table at Mikla. This Michelin-starred rooftop spot in Pera offers a 360-degree view of the skyline and serves a refined new Anatolian tasting menu. It's the city's premier splurge, with dinner typically running between $110 and $160 per person. Finally, for the best vegan and vegetarian options, head to Vegan Dukan Lokanta in Çangir. They serve plant-based takes on Turkish staples like manti dumplings and kebabs that even meat eaters would love. It's a small, creative space where a full meal costs around $15 to $25. Istanbul is a city that never stops moving. From the underground mystery of the Basilica Cistern to the ferry rides across the Bosphorus and the hidden rooftops of the Grand Bazaar, we've covered every layer of this historic giant. If you're ready to pack your bags for Turkey, show some love by hitting like and subscribing. But the adventure doesn't stop here. Click the next video to join us in Athens, where we're exploring marble temples and the vibrant street life of the Mediterranean.